Hiya friends, Prepared Suburbanite back with you. Hey, did you know that this campaign, presidential campaign, is raised well over $1 billion? And I've been wondering what that is really all about. I saw a headline that said they just crossed the $1 billion threshold for campaign financing, and I wanted to go check it out and find out what the details really were. So I want to share what I found with you right after the intro. There is a ton of information out there. A lot of it I got from Ballotpedia and a website called Open Secrets. And here's what I found out, that the Harris-Biden campaign has raised $296 million and has spent $200.5 million. Now that's through the end of July. So we've still got quite a few months yet to go during the campaign cycle here. So these numbers are just through July, and keep that in mind. So the Trump campaign has raised $221 million and has spent $92.9 million. The RFK Jr. campaign has raised $52 million and has spent $46.4 million. So that brings the total for at least the three known or major candidates to $569.9 million in funds raised. And they have spent $339.8 million so far through the end of July. So where does this $1 billion figure come from? Well, a little bit more in-depth research tells me that outside funding, now that's for the political action committees, things like Act Blue and Win Red for the Republican side, that they have been raising all kinds of money. And there's a number of political action committees out there. And here's what I found out from there, that the Harris campaign, the former Biden campaign, has raised in outside funds $203.3 million. Trump has raised $255.9 million, and RFK Jr. has raised $52.9 million. So the total outside funding through these political action committees has been $512 million. So if you add that to the 569.9 that are direct reportable fundraising by the actual committees themselves, you get $1.083 billion. Holy smokes. It takes $1 billion to run a presidential campaign. Now, what do they spend all that stuff on? Well, it's very, very difficult to pin down exactly what it is that they're spending their funds on. But the reporting criteria, according to the Federal Election Commission, breaks it down into 9 categories: administrative expense, campaign expense, fundraising expense, media expense, contribution expense, strategy and research, transfers, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, wages and salaries for employed staff, I presume, and then another category of unclassified or unclassifiable. So, you know, as you think about what does a campaign spend money on? Well, gee, yard signs, hats, pins, buttons, flags, apparel, stickers, those kinds of things that they spend money on, and I think we can all see that. So there's part of it, but the biggest expense that the campaigns are required to report is the administrative, and I'm not sure how that breaks down between administrative expense and campaign expense. So there's some crossover, I think, there. But when you're talking about renting a venue, a big stadium or a high school gymnasium or something, those things are going to cost money to do. You may have to pay the school district or the local county or whoever's running the arena for a day's use or 2 days use of that venue, and that's going to be pretty expensive. You've got legal expense out there, and I would imagine that that may be distributed across a number of the required reporting categories. Travel expense, you've got to get the crew there, you got to get the candidate from place to place. So Trump is flying his own plane, but Harris is using Air Force Two. So I'm not sure, but there's another contingent of folks that go along with them. Secret Service is paid for by the taxpayer, so that's not included in these expenses. So how does it break down? Well, basically the best folks can figure is that media, and we're talking television, radio, YouTube ads, ads on other social media platforms, turns out to be just over 30% of the total expenditures. That's a lot of money. Next in line is fundraising expense. Now, those are the, I presume, cost of having a website put up and the banking relationships and all that kind of stuff, whatever costs are involved in actual fundraising, advertising, sending out emails and all that. So that turns out to be 16.7% of the total expenditures of the current thing through the end of July. And then you get administrative expense, which is nearly 14% of the total. Research and strategy is 6.5%. Salaries is 12.4%. And unclassified or unclassifiable, and your guess is as good as mine in that category, is 14%. So when you really stop and think about what they're spending their money on, they're spending their money on advertising, print advertising, television advertising, radio, social media, email advertising, all that. And if you're like me, you're getting inundated with requests for fundraising and all that. But the media coverage, buying the television time, buying the ads on TV and radio and social media is about 30% of the total expenditures going on right now. And that's a lot of money. So who's getting rich on that? Well, who is getting rich on that? ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, you name it. They're all making a ton of money on this. They get their share of the $1 billion, excuse me, to host advertising on those channels, all that. So they're raking in quite a pretty penny. And that's always kind of bothered me, bottom line wise. I would think that a legitimate campaign should have some advertising expense and research and development kind of thing, and sure, they're going to have travel expense and salaries and all that, bookkeeping and those kind of related administrative expenses. But when you boil it right down to how much money they're spending on the media and who's making the money, it's the media. And the media has not been fair to the conservative side of things. They stack the deck in an awful lot of cases. Even left and right stack the deck either way. So it depends on where you want to get your news from. Is all being paid for by these political donations, whether it's direct to the campaign or whether it's through one of the multiple political action committees that's out there. They've still got quite a lot of money left over to spend. Cash on hand as of the end of July shows Harris with about $96 million, Trump with $128 million, and RFK Jr. with about $5.5 million. So that's kind of where it is. Some of the raw numbers and some of the percentages and all that. Now there are some shenanigans that are going on, and I got some info right here. Act Blue is one of the biggest Democrat political action committees that's out there, and they're under multiple investigations, both at the state level and in the House Committee on House Administration right now. They're looking into very curious donations. And I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to speculate into what it is that they're finding, but some of the recommendations that are coming out of this activity, this investigative activity, is they may be laundering foreign contributions through prepaid gift cards and credit and debit card holders. And that's been sort of reported here and there that some folks are finding out when they go to the Federal Election Commission website and you type in your name and give them some particular information. You can look yourself up and see how much you've donated, if you have. And if you haven't, you won't see anything. But if you've made a donation and it's been properly recorded, that's where it's going to show up. And folks have been finding out that, gee, they've been donating $200 and $300 $10 donations through Act Blue that they had no knowledge that they did. So some of the recommendations and what this investigation may turn up, and I doubt if they're ever going to get done by the end of this campaign, but at least it's under investigation. And I think the investigation also needs to go over to the other side, the Win Red Political Action Committee, just to make sure that they are on the up and up too. But some of the things that may be going on, prepaid gift cards, the deliberate non-use of the CVV, it's that little 3 and possibly 4-digit security set of digits on the back of your credit card. A lot of political action committees don't even ask for that, and they just run it through. And without that, your credit card company can process it and it'll go through, but they can also use that without your knowledge. So if you're going to donate, make sure that you find a place to donate where you can make sure that your donation is secure as possible. As I mentioned before, the receipt of significant number of donations from individuals who are retired and on a fixed income. And I know that our dollars are few and far between when it comes to discretionary spending right now, with inflation bearing down on us. But just be aware that there has been some reports of very large donations coming from folks on a fixed retired income. There are patterns of donations for as little as $2.50 of hundreds of those kind of donations from the same individual. Now, how that's happening? That's because they're not being careful with the data. And with all the data breaches that are out there right now, your credit card information could be compromised. There are investigations going on at the state level in Virginia, Wyoming, and Missouri, along with, I think, Texas is looking into at least Act Blue. And I hope they also look at Win Red at the same time. I think the whole election financing system needs to be a real hard look at what's going on there. These political action committees are raising funds that are unprecedented. And direct contributions to the campaign, I guess that's okay. But I would much prefer that there were a lot of very strict and stringent requirements for the campaigns and for the political action committees that they have to adhere to. And so I do support the recommendations that are coming out of the House Investigation Committee at the Committee on House Administration. I think we need to be tightening the screws down. I get very concerned when we drop down a level from the presidential campaign into state offices, governors and senators and House members and things like that are running, and they're receiving out-of-state donations from political action committees and from individuals. And I don't think we should be funding what's going on in a state that's outside our own. So I think contributions should be kept within your state, and then you can deal with the presidential campaigning at a whole different level. But state elections need to be within the state. That's my opinion. I don't know what you're thinking, but I found this exercise and research about how the money is being raised, where it's being raised, and how it's being spent, I found it pretty enlightening and somewhat troublesome. This is the Prepared Suburbanite, reminding you to be prepared always, and I'll see y'all on the next video.